Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we will be taking a look at Very Valet, a new release exclusive to the Nintendo Switch. If you guys didn't know already, I do love my couch co-op game, so I've had my eye on this game for quite a while since it first appeared in a Nintendo Direct. The premise of Very Valet is very true to its name, where you will be working by yourself or together with up to 4 other human players to park and pull cars as quickly as possible. The faster you are able to do so, the more team points you receive and the better your score is. The structure of the game feels familiar for reasons I will mention later on, but is a tried and true formula that works great for local cooperative games just like this one. In terms of game structure, it follows the same system of games like Overcooked or Moving Out. In fact, you can kind of imagine this game takes place right outside of the restaurants of Overcooked, and you can quickly see the chaotic vibe the developers were going for. As a newly hired valet or team of valets, you will start with the basic concept of creating space for guests to drop off and collect their vehicles. But as the game moves along, it quickly introduces different obstacles and gameplay mechanics to add to the experience, creating fantastic mayhem. Some examples of this include ramps, car launchers, portals, and mastering additional abilities like e-brake slides or slingshotting yourself out of cars or just shoving cars that are in your way. In level-based games such as this, it's imperative that the difficulty balancing and learning curve is executed well so players don't get stuck, and it was definitely executed well here. Once you have the basics of the gameplay mechanics down, you have to start using more and more of your abilities, but it is never unfair and always remembers that having fun is the main priority. You will see most of the gameplay here is from myself playing, but I was able to play a few hours with 2 players before uploading this video, and I loved the additional chaos and laughter that brought. However, I will say that this game is actually quite playable with 1 player, and does a better job of balancing single-player gameplay than a lot of these couch co-op pick-up and play games do, so big props to the developers for balancing that one. Mixed between the normal levels, if you can even call the main levels normal considering you may be crossing active airport runways to retrieve guest cars, are special challenge levels, which are a nice distraction from the main game. The first couple have you knocking over as many bowling pins as possible, or picking up and delivering trash as an example. As a quick side note, I did once work as a real valet as a summer job once, and I find it pretty hilarious to think of what real people might say if you decided to launch their car off of a roof when they requested it. It definitely feels like slight payback for a rude or impatient customer, a feeling I must have been harboring inside of me for quite some time and led to a lot of laughs when playing this game. The game itself was developed by Toyful Games, an indie studio where this appears to be their first release, but don't quote me on that. Regardless, this is a great start in my opinion for a lot of reasons I mentioned already. If you want to learn more about the game, they did an awesome AMA on Reddit and have their own blog, which I'll link to in the description below. I love it when indie studios showcase the inner workings of game development, as it always feels more authentic and transparent as a player. Knowing you're playing a game that is somewhat of a passion project for a studio as opposed to a simple cash grab almost always yields much better results, and Very Valet is no different. If it wasn't clear already, I really enjoyed my time with the game so far, but do keep in mind that this is not a deep game in the traditional sense, as reflected with its lower retail price. It sells digitally for $25 on the eShop, and the physical edition is $30. You will not find a ton of distractions outside of the main game or anything involving online. The core gameplay is what matters most, but there are a couple things I do want to mention. The control scheme is intentionally chaotic, but I do wish there was a control option to steer from the perspective of the driver as opposed to aiming on screen, although I know that could just be a me thing. Also, I don't think online matters much for a smaller game like this, but a local or even online leaderboard would have been a nice inclusion to provide some incentive to keep playing. Although I should note that there are several gameplay and difficulty options built in that provide additional ways to replay the game already. The gameplay can occasionally be a bit rough around the edges, but I've said this before with other reviews of couch co-op games that it doesn't really matter, and it usually adds to the intentional chaos if anything. In part because the game is so fun, what is probably my biggest wishlist item moving forward is that more levels and vehicles are added down the road. Very Valet feels a lot like if you took the original Overcooked game, combined it with the driving style of Crazy Taxi, and then put Muppets in charge of everything. The result is a fantastic couch co-op pick-up and play experience and scores an 81 overall, and definitely my favorite co-op game on the Switch in 2021 so far. The game never loses sight of what matters when playing a game like this, and I definitely recommend this for fans of co-op games, but also for single-player experiences as well. I can only hope that this is just the beginning for these valets, and the insurance policy has a little infinity symbol next to it in order to keep all of these valets employed.